The White Book, The Establishment of Isratine, August 5th, 2003. The White Book aims at the achievement of a just and equitable solution to the chronic so-called Middle East question, and to rid the region of the disastrous effects of violence, war, and destruction. In doing so, it presents the problem in a serious, objective, and neutral manner. The book compiles views and concepts previously put forward by Arabs and Jews alike. In addition to international plans and projects for its solution, they all support and vindicate the solution propounded in this work. No other concept will be able to resolve the problem. Palestine. This is the name recorded in the history and scriptures of the country. It derives from the name of its original inhabitants, the Philistines. The Old Testament books of Genesis, Deuteronomy, and Joshua acknowledge that name for the land. The Old Testament records the names of the Anquitites, the Raphites, the Canaanites, the Jebusites, the Hittites, and the Phoenicians. The book of Exodus explicitly states, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines. The name Palestine persisted throughout the British Mandate. It is mentioned in various projects and settlement plans proposed during that period. This fact is acknowledged even by the zealots of the Zionist movement. For example, Samuel Katz, founder of the Herut Zionist movement and one of the leaders of the Etzel National Military Organization, who wrote, quote, "All Zionist institutions in the world bore the name of Palestine." His examples include the Zionist Anglo-Palestine Bank, the Jewish Foundation Fund, which was known as the Palestine Foundation Fund, and the Palestine Workers Fund, which was Jewish. He noted that in the diaspora, the songs about Palestine were Zionist anthems. He also noted that as immigrants in foreign lands, they would celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles as the Feast of the Palestinian Tabernacles. He states the Palestinian Post, which went under the name Al-Barid al-Filistini, was a Zionist newspaper, the mouthpiece of the Zionist Federation. The name of Palestine, he wrote, quote, was only replaced after the establishment of what was called the State of Israel. He admits that the Hebrew language only came into use in Tiberias in the 10th century. Even President Roosevelt of the U.S., in a reply to Prince Abdullah of Jordan in March 1944, wrote, quote, "With regard to Palestine, I am pleased to communicate to you the assurances that the United States of America has no plan to take any decision to change the situation in Palestine without full consultation of Arabs and Jews." Irrespective of the name, the history of Palestine fits the general pattern of other countries in the region. Like those countries, it is a country that was inhabited by different peoples. Dominance and political power changed hands repeatedly between many tribes, nations, and ethnic groups, some of whom were immigrants and some of whom were invaders. Like other countries in the region, it has seen many wars and stood witness to waves of human immigration from all directions. Therefore, from a historical perspective, no one has the right to claim ownership of it as their land. That would amount to no more than an unsubstantiated claim. If no one party can claim the right to one part of Palestine, neither can they lay just claim to any other part. A state for the Jews. The original idea of Theodor Herzl was to establish Jewish state as a safe haven for the Jews. The immediate motive behind that idea lay in the persecution to which the Jews were subject, specifically in Europe before Hitler's time. Cyprus, Argentina, Uganda, Al-Jabal al-Akhdar, Palestine, and Sinai were suggested as locations for the establishment of the Jewish state, proposed as a way to rid Europe of its Jews. Therefore, as this narrative confirms, Palestine was not necessarily or inevitably the national homeland for the Jews. The Balfour Declaration. The real intent behind the declaration was to rid Europe of Jews, rather than express sympathy for them. The persecution of the Jews. The Jews are an unfortunate people. They have suffered greatly at the hands of governments, leaders, and other people since ancient times. Why? Because this is the will of God, just as the Quran makes clear in the accounts of Egypt's Pharaoh, and as the treatment meted out to them at the hands of the rulers of Babylon, the Roman emperors from Titus to Hadrian, and the kings of England, such as Edward I, illustrates. The Jews have been banished, held captive, massacred, disadvantaged, and persecuted in every possible fashion at the hands of the Egyptians, the Romans, the English, the Russians, the Babylonians, the Canaanites, and, more recently, at the hands of Hitler. The Arabs and the Jews. There is no enmity between Arabs and Jews. In fact, the Jews are Adnanite cousins to the Arabs on the father's side, who was a descendant of Abraham, peace be upon him. When the Jews were persecuted, their Arab brothers invited them alongside them in the town of Al-Medina. They even gave them the land of Wadi al-Qura, thus named in reference to the Jewish villages. Following the emergence of Islam under the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, the Jews found the notion of a prophet from outside their number unpalatable, so they showed hostility towards him. Some attacks against them took place, just as there were attacks against those from the Quraysh, who refused to accept Islam, and against Arabs who initially accepted Islam but subsequently rejected it. The Jews, along with the Arabs, were expelled from Andalusia at the end of the 15th century. They all found refuge in the Arab countries. That is why there is a Jewish quarter in every Arab country. There they lived in peace and friendship with their Arab brothers. Proposed solutions based on the establishment of a single state. British proposals. A. Wauchope Plan. It was proposed by the British High Commissioner in Palestine at the beginning of the 1930s. It provided for the establishment of a Palestinian Legislative Council comprising 11 Muslim, 4 Christian, and 7 Jewish members, in proportion to the demographic composition of Palestine at the time. B. The Newcomb Plan. First, the establishment of an independent sovereign Palestinian state. Second, broad sectarian freedom. Third, broad municipal freedom. And fourth, decentralization. C. The British White Paper of 1939. Number 1, independent federal Palestinian state. 2, consultative council representing Arabs and Jews. 3, Executive Council comprising Arabs and Jews. D. Lord Morrison's Plan. Number 1, it calls for a central government. 2, 4 administrative areas: Arab area, Jewish area, Jerusalem, and Negev. 3, local government and legislative council for each area. All these proposals were rejected for non-substantive reasons. For example, dissatisfaction with the size of the areas or towns awarded to one side, differences over the duration of the British mandate, or matters relating to the number of immigrants. The Zionist proposals. The first proposal was made by the so-called Peace Federation led by Rabbi Benjamin, who called for a binational state. The Jews were warned that the failure to accept a single binational state would not bring about peace for them. As they predicted, this is exactly what has happened. 2. The Confederate or Federal Solution proposed by Mir Emmett, a prominent leader in the Zionist movement and the Haganah organization, who held a number of important and prominent military positions. He was also, among other things, a Knesset member and a cabinet minister. He believes that a strategic concession on the occupied land, by which he naturally meant territory, such as Sinai, the Golan, the West Bank, and Gaza, would be tantamount to relinquishing tangible gains for which, according to him, there could be no compensation. Although Egypt had offered something in return, they were subject to sudden change. He discussed the feasibility of establishing a federal state, giving the examples of the European Union, the United States of America, which, according to him, experienced 13 years of turmoil up till 1789, and Nigeria, a multi-denominational and multinational state. In his view, he wrote that the economic, military, geographical, and historical considerations that underpin such a solution exist in Palestine. He further noted that the establishment of an independent Palestinian state constituted a grave danger. In order to avert those dangers, a single federal state must be established. The problem of Jerusalem, he wrote, can be simply resolved by making it the federal capital. 3. Proposal of the German Zionists. The 12th Conference of the German Zionists, the Structuralist School, convened on the 11th of September, 1921. Adopted the concept of establishing a single state for both parties, and thereby quote, establishing a place in alliance with the Palestinian Arab people for our joint security in a developing state. The structure of the state shall guarantee the national development of each individual of our two peoples without interference or prejudice.